a.m. on Facebook, YouTube, Voice of Stockton, and KXVS Radio. I will discuss relevant issues affecting animals and pet owners today, how to avoid common problems, and how to extend the quality of life for your cherished companions. As a community advocate, I will also discuss important social issues that affect our city. I plan to showcase organizations and heroes who are doing amazing things to help others. Remember to tune in every Tuesday morning at 10, starting soon.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
KXVS on 92.1. Coming soon.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the Voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff.
Hi, this is Joy Neas with Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton. And today my guest is Ava Simpson. She's involved with a lot of the different art programs in Stockton. And she's here today to talk about Earth Day and some of her projects. Welcome, Ava.
Hi, Joy. How are you today?
So, why don't you tell me all about the March for Science? How did that get started?
Okay. Well, last year, when kind of the country came alive in a new form of activism post-election, there was a first annual March for Science that was percolating out of Washington, D.C. and was quickly going around the globe. And last year they tied it in with actual Earth Day on the 22nd in every continent on the planet. And we decided to do one here in Stockton. In order to be in sync with the rest of the planet, we did the march on a Saturday last year and piggybacked it as more of an introduction to the existing Earth Day Festival, okay, which would be in Stockton always on a Sunday. So it was a standalone event. We kept it simple. We did it as just a walk around on the sidewalk over at Victory Park. And our goal was to try to engage people, give them an outlet to express their support for science, and then to make it fun, we did the math on how many people it would take to surround the perimeter of Victory Park on the sidewalk. And I may have this wrong now. It's been a while since I quoted the number, but I think it was 0.783 miles around the park. And so I figured a 4-foot wingspan, and that worked out to 1,034 people. Somebody can check me on the math, but and so we went with that number to give us a goal of trying to get the critical mass.
So do you know how many people came out?
I think we were somewhere, we tried to track it because people filtered in droves, but it was probably between 500 and 600 last year. So we were about halfway.
So we need more people to come out to Victory
That's
Park.
Right. We need more people. So we're going to shoot for that goal again. And the goal then was to stretch all the way around and do what we're calling a chain reaction, a human chain. And sort of like at a ball game, a wave. Yeah. So that's the thing to make it fun, and kind of our hook, our gimmick. But we will have just a real brief warm up. We'll be at the stage this year, so we have the benefit of having a PA system. We're not just standing on picnic benches with megaphones like we did last year. So we will have a PA system, so we'll meet at the stage. We'll have just a couple of short messages. Jerry McNerney's office is going to do a quick welcome. He was just involved last week and on the March for Science in Washington D.C. So he'll say hello. We've got Brandon Piasecki, who is a science teacher and a musician here in town, and he's going to do a repeat performance of his periodic table rap, which is very fun. He did that last year at Earth Day. So, and he was sort of our drum major at the last year. He led the crowd last year around the park, and he's just a bundle of energy. Anybody who knows Brandon.
Yeah, and Brandon, he wrote the Visit Stockton, the winning song for their contest.
Yes, yes.
And he has Channel Brew downtown, and they do a lot of arts events.
Right. In fact, on that note, the night before the March for Science, Brandon is going to open up Channel Brew from 4 to 8, specifically for a kind of a launch party for Earth Day. And he's partnered with 1850 Collective and a few other artists to encourage them to do art using recycled materials.
And that's called Down to Earth?
Down to Earth, right. Right.
And would any of those art pieces, are they going to also be going to Earth Day? Or?
He's working on it. Brandon is stretched pretty thin
Yes,
himself, so he's trying to get some backup to take that art show and take it to the park. 'Cause it would be great. Yeah, so we're going to still work on that this week. So anybody who wants to kind of come see that, head over there on the Saturday beforehand. Brandon is a big supporter of good causes all over town.
I met him with Reinvent South Stockton, so we were working together on that.
Yeah.
So now you say about the stage. Is that the stage that the Concerts in the Park uses? So it's on the west side of the park.
Yeah, we are slightly more. If you're going counterclockwise. We are a little more to the south. So go to where the stage normally is, and then you rotate around to the south. But if you go to that corner, you'll see us.
That's by the baseball.
No, we're kind of in between.
Okay.
We're in between where the concert stage normally is for the Wednesday night concerts, and where the baseball is.
Okay.
You kind of split the difference there. And then, so we'll do our march, and our goal is piggybacking on that 1034 number. Mm-hmm. We're going to do something kind of fun. You know how you normally go to an event, and they say, okay, we ask everybody to please turn your cell phones off. Uh-huh. Well, this is the March for Science, so we're going to embrace technology, and we're going to ask people to pull out their cell phones, turn the volume up, and set their alarm clocks for 10:34.
Oh, great.
Okay, so at 10:34, we hope to have already been spread out enough that that's our signal to start to really complete the circle. Uh-huh. And so all these wacky alarms are going to be going off. So
all the alarms will be going off
at 10:34.
I want to hear that.
Yeah.
So we need at least 1,200 people would be nice.
Yeah, so we don't have to stretch so far.
There we go.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. And then this year we get to go straight after the march into Earth Day itself. So there'll be over 60, I think we're close to 65 different booths that are going to be out there at Earth Day. I forgot to tell you too. During the march, we're going to have the drum line from Cesar Chavez High School.
Oh, wonderful!
It's going to be adding to the noise and the fun and the making it a true march.
Yeah,
so.
that really helps. All the different parades and everything. We really need the music and the drumming and that makes it a march and a gathering.
Yeah.
So last year you had some art pieces in association. You guys were painting like big signs.
Well, we had a couple of advanced parties and sign making parties where we did some full-sized posters and messages for supporting science. And this year, again, we will bring some small scale, maybe they're about 12 by 12 size signs that have a blank side to them and a popsicle stick handle. And people can make their own the day of. And so we'll have some markers and things out there for adults and kids if they want to make their own sign and carry it.
Do you have any signs you brought?
I did not. I'm sorry,
okay.
I didn't bring it.
Okay.
So imagine a little blank sign, and so it'll have a March for Science graphic on one side, and then just a blank on the other. And we encourage people, if they're going to make their own sign, good old.
Here we are.
Our handy. Here we go.
It's from last year.
That's from last year. Yay!
Hold that up.
Yeah. So.
Show the other side.
There we are.
And then I have a story, but I don't. Can I tell this my other story?
Sure.
Okay. It's not exactly rated PG, but it was at the day of on Earth Day. I had set up a booth where people could make their own signs. Yeah. And so we were focusing on science, and I would ask the kids, what's your favorite thing? Was it dinosaurs, or was it, fish or whales, or what stars? And so they would sit there and they'd draw. And there was this one kid, and he was having such a good time. He wanted to do the solar system. Okay. And so he's drawn Earth, he's got his green and his blue out, and then he's got red for Mars, and then he's doing Saturn, and he's moving on the way out. And he's trying to decide his next planet and what color. I'm sorry, this is funny. He looks up at his dad and he said, "Hey, Dad, what color is Uranus?" You can't write this stuff. I mean, that was it. Actually, his dad is dying. I'm dying. But it was a great moment.
Yeah.
But
and I hope he included little Pluto.
Feel sorry for Pluto.
There's a discrepancy on that one. I'm for Pluto.
Is Pluto back again? I think I thought I heard Pluto was going to get recognition again.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, that's good.
Anyway, so it was fun. So yeah, we'll have these out there for people to make their own signs, and so they'll have something to carry and remember. And then we'll set up a booth during the day for people that maybe didn't make it in the morning.
So there, I remember there was actually I did attend the March for Science. So I was in the group. There was like I think about a 15 or 20 foot long art piece that you guys made.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that?
We have it, and it's coming back out again. Okay.
Right.
And Denise Jefferson was the brainstorm behind that, and we had several of us got together, and it's I think a 30-foot long canvas.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
And it still exists, and I now have it at my house.
So that's party history. Maybe we could add a little bit to it, or
maybe there might be a way that we could. We'll look at that as an option, because it's great. It talked about some of the achievements in science over the years.
So what time would you say that everyone should get to Victory Park this Sunday to be in the March for Science?
Well, by 10 o'clock, so they can get instructions on what to do, because the logistics of getting everybody distributed around the park is surprisingly complicated.
Yes.
It is definitely like herding cats. So we're debating how we're going to do that, whether we start everybody out maybe in 1 minute intervals and then ask them to stop at a certain point, or do we split them up and go opposite directions?
Groups,
so we're still working that out.
All right, so everybody meet at the stage at about 10.
Yeah, come at 9:30 if you want to make your own signs.
To make the signs.
Yeah, or bring your own. We had some pretty fun signs last year, and express yourself and be supportive. We're trying to keep it positive, family friendly, but this is science and math and engineering, and it's all very dear to a lot of people, and the environment, and it's kind of under siege. It's threatened right now, as is education and some of the funding that goes for programs that we've learned to appreciate,
Yeah.
we've got to protect those.
So and that's also with art. Art is under siege. So all the things that really bring quality to life, we need to be protecting that. But art and science can go together. They have STEAM,
Right.
And I haven't seen his work, but there's an artist. I think his name is Sander Vanderboer, and he has been making these stars that he combines technology with. He was actually sewing at a sewing machine and making these things and having electronics, and they lit up and everything. So it's all about how everything we all connect.
Yeah.
And all the subject matters connect.
Yeah, no, I do love adding art to the STEM program.
Yeah,
that was great.
STEAM.
Yeah.
So this is the 30th anniversary of the Earth Day Festival. I'm wearing the 25th anniversary 5 years ago.
Right. And I brought a couple of old posters that we were looking at just last night.
Yeah.
Here's one. We think this one was 92. This was when it was still over at Oak Park. Can you see it? Yeah. Okay.
Now this says Alpine in California. So I never went to it when it was at Oak Park.
Yeah, I went to some of those early ones. In fact, I took my campfire girls out there, and we made buttons out at the event, and we did some art using trash that we had picked up but we created a giant Earth map using trash that we had picked up.
Okay. And you have another one?
Yeah, here's another one. I'm not as familiar with this one, and part of what we were doing last night was trying to find the years to go along with these. So this one was probably early 2000s.
And this...
Yeah, this one now had gone to Weber Point.
That says Weber Point.
Yeah.
I
So it's moved
that.
around.
Wow.
It's been at Oak Park, Weber Point. I think they had one other location, and now
Victory Park.
Victory Park has become its home. I think it might have even been on the UOP campus once or twice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
And you have this year's poster.
Yeah.
There we go.
And KXVS. Here's one here.
Do you know who designed the poster?
The Mayako, the ones who do Caravan, and Steve Morales, his company, they donated the art for this one. And Steve has been very active on the committee, and this year he's kind of had to pull back a little bit, but he managed to do one last surge of art and doing the website for us, so it was a huge help.
It's very attractive. Really jumps out at you. I noticed the Earth, and one of we were going to have Annette DePauli here today, but she is working with the art component at Earth Day.
She does all the kids' activities. And she has multiple stations. They'll be doing face painting. I think they said they're going to have 10 different stations so that you'll be able to have 10 different people painting kids' faces. And they've got a special shade cover now to make it more comfortable for everybody.
Oh, that's good.
They're going to do a beading project. And then the big one that she's having fun with right now is she and some students from Ben Holt High School they took a 5-foot weather balloon, inflated it, and are covering it with paper mache so that then it'll be a freestanding globe, and they're going to paint it to look like the Earth, and then they're inviting people to come and issue messages, positive thoughts, prayers, wishes for Mother Earth for the day, and that they can add to it so it becomes this giant, message to the planet.
So would they write on the?
I think they write on separate things and they'll apply it. I don't know if they're going to glue them on or pin them on or whatever, but it's a pretty ambitious project, and it's she's learning a little bit about science in the process, because the exercise of a balloon that inflates and deflates a little bit with hot and cold temperatures. This week in particular has been a challenge for her. So she's,
with the changing climate there.
Changing weather. Yeah. So she's it's turning into more of a science project than she anticipated, I think.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah, and that whole thing about messages. I'm with the Draw It Out group, and we did wish flags. And so we're always thinking about, what is our message? Our particular slant, we ask people to think about what would make their neighborhood a better or safer place. We can think about what would make our world healthy and happy, and
right.
How we can all get along together.
Right.
So I really appreciate you talking about that. What else are you doing? What other projects?
You know what? Before we get off Earth Day, I'm
Sure.
gonna shift off of art a little to the music side of it,
sure,
though,
sure.
because we do have quite a bit of entertainment. I wish I had brought my list with me. There it is. We got a list of the entertainer.
There we are.
Okay, but we've got one of our committee members is David Qualls, and he is now an instructor over at Cesar Chavez High School. And so he's focused on some of the young talent. So we've got, besides the drum line, we've got a Polynesian dance troupe and a mariachi band who I heard recently, and they are first class. They are first class.
Where is the mariachi? Is that Chavez?
These are the ones I'm listing right now are all from Cesar Chavez,
Okay.
and they're kind of interspersed in half-hour segments through the day. And they have a jazz choir. Okay, so those are some of the youth bands. We also have the Brubeck Institute Jazz Band. We have the New and Used, it's a rock band here in town. And then we have Stockton, I'm going to mispronounce this, sorry, Stockton Bukyo Taiko band. And then this other band I'm very familiar with because I hired them a few years ago for a birthday party / fundraiser, Big Earl and the Crying Shame. They're going to finish out the day from 3 to 4 o'clock.
So you mentioned the taiko drummers?
Yes.
Yes, taiko drummers.
So those will be fun.
That's my favorite, the Oban Festival, and so they'll be there from 2 to 2:30.
Right.
That's wonderful. And I love also at the end there is the drum circle.
Yes. And so David Perry Molina will be organizing that. So it's the festival officially closes at 4 o'clock, but as people are breaking down, he's inviting people to join up near the stage. They'll have a certain amount of drums and other percussion instruments and some chairs, and you can sit around and anybody can do that. They can join. They can bring their own drums, or I participated in that the last couple of years. At the end of the day, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
It's very therapeutic. So there's a lot of good stuff. It's all free. That we've got 4 food suppliers. They range from desserts and it's got to be all vegetarian, so that's a challenge. Okay. So we've got all healthy stuff, and so get there early, get your food. There will be I'm not going to list the names of all those who are there, but sure. And then again we've got about over 60, almost 70 booths there for the day. So
it's a wonderful event, and I just wanted to mention Dave Qualls. He does the music for Delta Fusion. Yeah. We need to show Delta Fusion some support so it can continue. What else are you doing?
Okay, so I do wear a few different hats these days since I tried to retire and then it didn't stick. So one of my biggest projects, clients, is with Stockton Civic Theater. I do the marketing for them, and we're getting ready to do the 4th show for this current season, which parallels the school year. It starts in August, September, and goes through June, July. And the 4th show is going to start Friday after next. So April 25th, and it's Dead Man's Cell Phone. Okay, I'm not sure where you want me to hold this.
Yeah.
Okay, Dead Man's Cell Phone, and it's a modern comedy, obviously by the name, and it's zany, it's funny, and makes thought provoking, and it really deals with the contrast of how technology is bringing us closer and yet more distant from each other, and it does it through a really quirky storyline. I invite people to come see that. We do have an opening night party hosted by the Ava. So if you want to come and eat a little before the show, you're welcome to join.
What night is it?
Well, the official opening is on Friday the 27th. Okay, so that's always a fun party, and then an after party if you want to meet the cast and crew. You can join up there later on.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention while we were on opening nights, I went to the opening night of Essay Homo. It's the last play that they're having over at UOP in the Long Theater, and opening night was last Friday night, and they had a nice little party afterwards. So we had this weekend is also 3 more days of Essay Homo, so I hope you guys can go see their last production.
Wow, that one wasn't on my radar. I know there's so much theater and music in this town.
Yeah,
okay. I'll have to check that
Yeah,
out.
because actually it's Friday and Saturday evening, and I think Sunday afternoon, and they're not. I don't think they're going to be using the Long Theater anymore. So this is a big historic occasion to go see what they're doing over there.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I just went to the opera 2 weekends ago, and that was fun. And then we now also have the new season for Stockton Civic Theater. We're kicking it off in August with, actually September, with Hair. And then we're bringing back a favorite and a nod to Al Muller with Annie for our holiday show. We're doing a kind of comic farce, Comedy of Tenders, and then Ripcord, which is another quirky sort of comedy, and then another musical, Nice Work If You Can Get It. Okay, so the season tickets are now on sale for Stockton Civic Theater, and Hair's going to be particularly well received. I think we're going to have a lot of fun with that.
So what I think they just had their 65th anniversary. What are they up to now?
They're up to, well, it started in 1951. We have some debates whether it's 1951 or 50, but we're calling this is the 68th season.
68th.
68th season. So that's going on. Involved with Delta College, the CYCLE, which is the acronym for Stockton Institute for Continued Learning, SICL. Some people pronounce it sickle, but we like to call it cycle, and we have an old-fashioned bicycle as our logo.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the Ollie program at UOP.
Yeah, and it's that's been going on. It's in its 20th year at Delta College, so it's a lifelong learning. It's intended for retirees mostly, those who have the flexibility to take classes during the day. It's very affordable for a $30 flat rate. You can take as many classes as you want. Yeah. The only additional fees is if it's an art class or something, or a tour that's got some additional things. But so if we're on the topic of art, there's some acrylic classes, drawing classes. We've had people making their own journals, and one that's I'm going to butcher the name. it's a modified book thing where you actually kind of take an old book and you destroy it and add art to it, and you turn it into quite a collage of different techniques. So I have some altered books, not destroyed. Yeah, altered books.
So who was teaching that?
That is, Vicky Gaia is doing that one.
Okay.
Another very popular class is picassiette, which is a French word for broken plate. And it's making kind of mosaic, but very, it's not as precise as using squares and diamonds and things like that. It's more rough. And it's, we've made things like stepping stones. You can do, things like that, or people have decorated planters and stuff like that. But it's very pretty.
So who's working with that?
Sally Edmonds is teaching that one. Okay. Yeah. And then a new one this semester, and I took this one, was a video editing class. The introduction was just, I think, 2 sessions where you just learn to make movies using your cell phone.
Wow.
Just using your cell phone. And that, again, I'm stumbling on names here. It'll pop in my head. But we, you used your cell phone, and then you learned you downloaded a free editing program, and then the follow-up class to that was making we did a 2-minute movie, but it took us 4 weeks to do the filming, do the scripting, storyboards, figuring out the props. It was very systematic how it was taught, and I'm killing me that I'm.
Is that in this here?
Yes, it is. Okay, if we stall long enough, I'll think of the name.
Where do you pick up a copy of the schedule? Or
these, we have a fall and a spring semester. This one is nearly over. So I produced their catalog for them. So we will be having our next term will come out. We register in August. I think it's around August 9th, whatever the Saturday is.
Now, you have some programs that the public can attend, just like a drop-in basis, or?
Yeah, the speaker series. Okay. I've handled that the last couple of years, where we had 2 or 3 or 4 speakers. Sometimes we would have a theme. This year we had 3 different speakers. One of them that's art related was Paula Scheel. Spoke on the importance of handwriting.
Yeah, cursive writing.
And just how that affects the science of that, really, and how it helps people process logical thoughts. There's a connectivity, is the word I think that she used, of anticipating what the next letter that you're going to write, and that translates to connecting ideas together too. And they're finding that the students that aren't learning that, they're doing everything with keyboards, that they're missing some of that thought process.
Wow.
And it makes it pretty impossible for them to read handwritten notes.
There you go.
It's like if you want to write something in code, just write in the handwriting, and the kids won't know what it is.
My mom, she would do shorthand, and I could never. I didn't know what she was writing, but so cursive is almost like a shorthand of these people now. They can't even read it.
Yes, yeah, that's it. It's really becoming obscure. So, but we had that, and we had Linda DeRivi from the Save Downtown Stockton Foundation, and she talked about the history of trying to preserve the buildings downtown, and they're trying to move the spire that was part of the fountain at Hunter Square to MLK Plaza.
Right, and make it a sundial.
Yeah.
And I used to work for Linda DeRivi at DCA.
You did?
Yes, I was an assistant of hers. But she has collected all of the city's plans, all their studies for how to improve Stockton, and they spent, probably millions of dollars on consultants. And they made these wonderful studies, and then they never even really went through with most of the proposals. So we need to be working on that. But
yeah, that was actually the topic.
Yes,
was 50 years of plans and
topic.
promises.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know that you when I did a show, A World Without Art, you displayed one of your art pieces in my show.
Oh, that's right.
And you had gone to the San Joaquin Historical Society, their museum, and you were learning to be a docent.
Right. Right.
And how did your project come about? Or?
Yeah, we could choose to do a topic, some research for maybe a person or a thing, something that would have value after we completed our docent training. So it was I think we started in October and we finished in May or June. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that it was very helpful to me to be able to visualize the buildings around the property if I had something other than just a overhead map that showed rectangles.
Right.
So I created a more of a bird's eye view kind of cartoon style.
Yeah, kind of three-dimensional.
Yeah, right.
And
right. So as if you were coming in at an angle, and so you could see the shapes of the buildings and a little more detail. And it's a style that I've always found much more interesting if I'm going to travel to a new place. I don't want to just know the streets. I want to know the up and down. I want to know where there's hills and where there's parks, and it really makes it more real.
Yeah,
to me.
Actually, I if you spend some time over at the House of Shaw, I don't know if they still have it, but on their wall they had one of those like the maps of the Miracle Mile.
Exactly.
And it was kind of done like that. And Stephen Bentley, he's the cartoonist. He does Herb and Jamal, but he did a T-shirt that he has all the landmarks and places in Stockton, and he did it in that kind of style.
Yeah, I love that style. So it was a rookie project for me, and I had nothing. It's not like I could rent a helicopter to go get an actual picture, so I had to take a flat picture and then run around and take pictures on the ground, and then try to project myself up into the sky to visualize what this would look like. So it was challenging and fun, and I plan to actually redo it because at some point they're going to move some of those buildings around. It's such a fascinating property, and people aren't aware of it. Yeah. It's got a lot of really interesting exhibits and a lot of very new first class buildings and video that go along with the exhibits, and it's an outdoor pathway that shows all the different environments in California. Mm-hmm. It's called the Sunshine Trail. It's gorgeous. Wow. But it's a pretty well kept secret. I even have teacher friends that have never been there, and that surprises me.
And actually, we have a Stockton connection because it has two of our most famous historic buildings. The Captain Weber house that was originally at Weber Point, and the original structure, it was like a two-story structure, and that part burnt down, but there was another addition to it, and that is preserved at the museum. Right. And then the Julia Weber house, that was always on West Lane, right? And they ended up Fisher Brothers moved it from all the way from like below West and March Lane all the way up to Lodi.
Right.
And now it's there. Do you know when that would ever be open?
I know they're doing improvements on it. It has to become ADA compliant, I think, for them to be able to open it up to the public. And so I don't know all the details of when that might happen. So right now you can just kind of see it from the outside and appreciate the exterior. And they've taken some of the furniture that was in that house, though, and they have it in exhibits in the Erickson building. So the furniture and the way it looked is still preserved, so you can still see it there.
And I know that I think it's one day a year they open up the Weber house, and you can actually go inside.
Right.
That was really wonderful to be able to do that. So are they selling that map, or are they using that
They
map?
do. They use it every year with the Festival of Trees. It's in the center. And so it is getting a life to it. So I would actually like to perfect it a little bit. As the artist, you're the most critical of the work. And I'd like to go back and redo it and maybe even add color to it and make it more of a poster size. I think it would be fun.
So it was black and white. It would be nice. I'd love to see it in color.
Yeah, so maybe have a black and white version, and people can color their own. Make
that would be
available
great.
to kids.
A little coloring page.
Yeah. I think they would have fun with it, but do it up right and have color on it. I think it could be more of a keepsake. Yeah.
So while I have you here, I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about your granddaughter Mia.
Your chalk buddy?
My chalk buddy. She's one of the most talented chalk artists I've ever met. And so she's down studying in Santa Cruz now?
Yeah, she's at UC Santa Cruz. She's a double major. She's art, and but she's also a community studies major. So, which is a degree that was developed, I understand, in 1968. I did the research on this at Santa Cruz, and it's sort of a hybrid between political science and sociology. Very, very Santa Cruz-esque. It's perfect. So she doesn't talk about those classes as much as she talks about her art classes. That's where her heart is. But she's also got an awareness and appreciation for good causes. I see her someday at a nonprofit or a kind of thing.
And I just wanted to mention, I have an opportunity for her. There's going to be an Italian festival up in Lodi, and we need some chalk artists. So
when's that going to be?
I think it's July 29th. So maybe she'd be available.
We could get her home for a weekend. Okay. She usually works during the summer, but yeah, right. she had a lot of fun doing art at the Children's Museum with you.
Okay. So I think we got to wrap it up. Any closing thoughts? Or?
No, just come on out on Sunday to Victory Park. Get there by 10 at the latest, and join us for the March for Science.
Thank you very much for being my guest.
Thanks for having me.
See you next time on Behind the Art Scene on KXVS, the Voice of Stockton.